We got a great topic today. What happens when people want to commoditize you? Happens quite often, doesn't it? We get into what a lot of people call the beauty contest stage of a sale. They want to buy a product, or at least they think they do. They assign it typically to somebody who has no authority, power, or very little knowledge about the problem to collect vendor information. They make us do a lot of work. They make us do a structured demo, some kind of bake-off, and they don't really engage the vendor. This is a tough situation. It may sound easy because it's inbound, and that part is good. The hard part is, how do you get to the right people with the right problem set to talk about the real issues and get out of the beauty contest stage? We're going to dive into this today. Now, most sales, we get into a beauty contest at some stage. We might be the one initiating it. We may create the pain, the problem, propose a solution, but also they have to look at alternatives. If you're selling anything of any substance, they have to justify this and look at the market, do a market study, do an evaluation, and justify why they're picking you. So this is a good topic to discuss for pretty much anybody who's selling. Got a great rep, a long-time listener to the podcast. Let's get into the interview. Make sure you're checking out our friends over at CoVideo. Give it a try. Video email is cooking. If you're already in the courses, make sure you're listening to the one-on-ones. Try and stay current with the ones that match what you're doing, because what you do is you get to see how other people are doing it. The Q&A, the back and forth, the examples are all really powerful. Also, in the office hours, try and stay current with them. Go to the very bottom of the chapter and kind of work your way up, or based off of the topic that you're facing most. The interaction on them is really good. People are coming up with new tools, new techniques, lots of case studies, lots of honing of the problem. And if you're interested in the courses, go to b2brevenue.com. Let's get into the interview. Hey, Kenneth, welcome to the show. As a way of getting started, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Brian. Pleasure to be here. Been a big fan for years now, so really excited to be here today. Kenneth Westake is my name. I'm calling you from Berlin, Germany. I'm born and bred in Finland. Dad's English, that kind of explains the name and my language. But yeah, excited to be here.
Wow. I mean, your English is perfect. I mean, how did it get that way?
See, I think the main reason is I never lived in England or America, so I'm agnostic with my accent. If you come and visit the Nordics, you'll notice that what I always say is we speak better English than the English.
Yeah, okay. Without the strong accent. Yeah.
Exactly, so you can understand.
And how'd you get into sales?
That's, yeah, how did I get into sales? I was thinking about if this counts, but when I turned 16, I decided to go into soccer refereeing. And now, after 14 years in sales, I have to say that's still the toughest job I've ever had. So selling decisions with a yellow and red card to 22 guys who've had a long week at work and just want to take it out on you. So I'd say it dates back to then.
Yeah. But what did you study in school?
So in university, I did study sales, but I dropped out 3 times and I have never graduated from there. So every time I saw an opportunity, I just went after it and grabbed it.
And what do you like about sales?
So for me, it's always been about influencing and interacting with people. So mainly, I used to study on my free time behavioral psychology. I really enjoyed playing poker because you could read the other opponent as such. But then I realized that through sales, you can actually influence people. And by the time I was 19, I was working in Norway for a precious metals company, making a significant income. But I realized at that point also, you can use the influence to your benefit, and so that both sides do not get value. So I was pretty young when I noticed that that's not what I want to do. Yeah. So I was lucky enough to find the SaaS industry where you're bringing value both ways. And yeah, it's my 5th year here now, so enjoying it.
Cool. And what are you selling today?
So right now I'm working for a business application platform. It's called Freshworks. I joined Freshworks from Salesforce. So I spent 4 years in the Salesforce ecosystem. Originally, I was working for an ISV, small startup in Helsinki. And after some success over there, it was noted by the mothership at Salesforce. And I was lucky enough to join as a senior account executive to the commercial business unit team 9 months after I had applied to be a BDR, and they rejected me.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And now at Freshworks, it's a smaller company, I take it. I don't know that company that well.
Yeah, so I'll give a quick briefing. So it's a hyper growth company. We're the second fastest company to hit $100 million in revenue after Slack. Current market valuation is about $3.5 billion.
Wow.
So
it's not
small and small. There's about 40,000 paying customers that we have, and yeah, it's a rocket ship, as we say.
Cool. And what's the hardest part of your job today?
The hardest part. It's
or maybe the easiest part would be a better question.
No, I mean, of course, the hardest part, but it's the most enjoyable is the competition. So, I mean, there is never a single sales case that you could say, this is an easy one, I'm going to win it. Without a doubt, you're always going to face competition. And in the market space where we are, you face that competition from the big guns. So now that I've joined a hypergrowth company and I'm against Salesforce and Microsoft, so that's kind of the main challenge, but you learn the most there, and we're up for the challenge.
Well, that's it. So you're probably in that classic beauty contest type of sale where they bring in at least 3 players and they try and keep you at arm's length and they don't tell you much. And hard to tell if you're winning or losing.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that you have learned after being a part of a company like Salesforce is sometimes they organize these beauty contests just for show. So they might invite different pageants, even though they're not going to win. They don't stand a chance, so it's just for show. And the main thing I think right now is try to identify those as soon as possible, because at the end of the day, you're going to be wasting your time. You're going to be bringing value to another vendor. And so that's one of the important things. And what I've really learned from your podcast is try and learn kind of the buying psychology. What are they after? Try and put yourself in their shoes, because everyone's always interested to hear about stuff. Everyone always wants to hear, but we're not scalable with our time. So
we're not teachers. We're salespeople, right?
Yes.
And when people say teach, I go, well, you don't want to be a teacher. You know, they don't make much money. They get summers off, but we're there. If we don't sell anything, we don't make anything.
Exactly. And then you have, of course, within these organizations, you have customer success. So, I mean, if you want teachers, you do also have them at a later stage that you can leverage, but we're not in customer success.
And what are some of the tells that they are just using you as what we call in the States, column fodder, column filler, you know, to put in the file, to check a box. Yes, we looked at them.
Yeah, we call them tire kickers in our country, if you were directly to translate that. But no, I mean, it's basically, it comes back always to why. Why are you interested in speaking with us? What is the reason? And it was certainly a lot harder coming into software sales to kind of accept the fact that these guys probably aren't interested, even though I am engaging with them. So nowadays, really, if I don't find out the why or the what is it that we're doing and why we're doing it, I sometimes even step out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how can you tell when they are interested, even though that there's still 2 or 3 other competitors?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing also, because it's very cultural. So, I mean, if you look about how, I haven't done too much sales. I have done some sales for North America, and there's a huge difference even just country by country. So in Finland, for example, where the majority of my clients are, we're very reserved. So if one is not engaging, it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't care. They might have done their background search and made their mind up already about you. So it is really connecting several dots. I don't think there's one possible way. Sometimes you can, look at the politics behind it. Sometimes look at the relationship, at the communication. And when you're working in a market with about 5 million people, and the Nordics is about 20 million people, you'll always know someone who knows someone. So use your network, leverage the network to get some background information on the history of the customer, on the history of the person. And that kind of helps you.
And I'm sure that would help, because you go on to LinkedIn or, some database, and you find out they're already a customer of Salesforce, Microsoft, Oracle, IBM. And so you're going to compete against them.
Yeah.
And then you can ask the hard questions, like, why would you look outside of your stack?
Yeah, and but in a sense, if I do ask that, of course, the answer can be, yeah, exactly why am I looking out of that stack? So why are you even asking that question from me? So it can be a catch-22. So of
Yeah.
course, you do a lot of background search into what they're currently doing and what is the value that you can bring to them as a business. And usually, maybe what kind of separates me from the way of others is you try and look for those small signals that maybe other people aren't catching up on.
Yeah.
So maybe read through an annual business review, try and connect it with the industry trends, and then kind of connect that into your platform and how we can bring more value in this day and age into your business model. How do you want to be the front runner in your market? Why would you be doing something that someone else isn't doing in order to get you a head start for 2020, for example?
And let's talk about that background, because I like what you said about poker, because that is, you have to have the outward mindset, because you have to pick up on the, what we call the tells. I don't know if he uses the same word.
Yeah.
Right. When somebody's getting nervous or excited. And that's why they wear sunglasses, right?
Yeah, you can't really wear sunglasses in a meeting.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
And a lot of reps is kind of stay in their own head, meaning that they're only viewing the world from what they're feeling, what they're thinking. And if you're not looking for those clues, you're not going to find them out until it's too late, and you're going to invest a lot of time.
Yeah.
I mean, because you're in a good situation where you got to probably get inbound, where people are interested. And a lot of people don't get that. The bad part of it is anybody who comes to you has already looked at a couple of other things and has a preconceived notion of where you fit in as far as what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think you're right with what you said. Working at the startup before Salesforce, we had 0 inbounds during my 1.5 years there. So I was doing a lot of outbound, which of course is different. But in order to kind of do those tells, I think it's once again a two-way road. So I used to pay too much attention into what the customer is doing at the time. What's the body language for? Probably my favorite example is the crossed arms. And people think of that as closed body language. But when you actually think of it, when do we cross our arms? When you're comfortable, when you're engaged, when you're listening. So I really kind of shifted the focus of paying attention too much into other people's tells and to focus on what is it that how do I want to present myself? What's the message? How do I want to use my hands? Do I want to keep my hands shut right now or open? So I think that was kind of, because you can go a little bit crazy if you're looking at every single tell and trying to make your mind up about that. But then at the same time, speak with your peers. I mean, I'm only 29. I hope by the time I'm 59, I'm still going to be speaking with my peers to develop myself. But whenever I have an idea of something, just speak with someone else, review it through. You'll get another view on it. And
that is critical, because they'll raise questions that you probably don't want to hear, but you should hear.
Exactly. And that's why a dry run is incredibly important. I mean, some of my team members get sick and tired of my dry runs, but you need to prepare. And even if you have a champion at the customer's side, when you're working on these big deals, they're big organizations, you need to identify the champion because they're going to be on your side. So I often do a dry run even with the customer before. Yep. So let's make sure, is this what the audience in the room wants to hear? Is this what really will bring an impact? Because why would I want to go there and not have an impact on them? I'm wasting everyone's time once again.
And what department do you typically sell to?
So if you look at Freshworks, which is kind of similar to Salesforce in a platform way, an ecosystem, it can be any department. We have specific solutions for customer engagement. So different kind of ticketing, omni-channel calls, chats. So you're going to be talking with customer support. But then at the same time, we have our ITSM tool, which is more for internal stakeholders, internal support, and then of course a CRM system. So you're talking with sales. Yeah. So you're talking to, it can be anyone within the business. So for me, that's what I love about the job, and every day you're learning more. So it really depends, but it lands on the C-suite table in the end because the investment is pretty significant.
Okay, and how do you keep the deal moving? Because I'm sure the natural effect is either to stall or flip-flop or...
Yeah, that's, I think, how do you keep the deal moving without asking, what's the status on this?
Right, checking in. That's not moving it.
Exactly. We know this, and I've done it a fair share myself. I think what really helped was practicing being the buyer and noticing the actually we're trying to push a software purchase through in my company. I'm realizing how difficult it really is.
Yeah.
So to keep the ball rolling, you kind of need to try and make educated guesses sometime about the challenges the customer might be facing, because they can't share that issue with them, that maybe their manager is not supporting them. Maybe they're on doing this on their own. So it really depends.
Yeah. And who or how do you keep moving up the organization? Did they ever try and stonewall you and say, no, just work with me?
Definitely they do. But at the same time, if they want to push it through, you have some leverage on your side. So let's say you want to have a customized demo, or you want to have a demo in the first place. If you want to have a demo, we're going into negotiation. I want a discovery if you want a demo for yourself. So if you want a tailored demo, okay, at that point, or if you want an offer, I want to speak with the person who's signing it off to find out, is this really the budget that you have? So basically, I've had the privilege of attending some pretty nice trainings during my time at Salesforce and here at Freshworks. And basically, whenever the customer is asking something from you, you have every right to ask something back for yourself.
And that's the time to ask for something.
Yeah.
Because most of the time we'll give, and then we ask and it's too late,
Yeah, I mean, you can always save a few asks for the contract negotiations that you can leverage at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you work by yourself, or do you have a technical sales engineer, or?
Yeah, so I have a team around me. I would not be able to do anything that I'm doing without the team. So I work really closely day to day with my solution engineer and my BDR. So the BDR, of course, is the pipeline generator. And at the same time, you want to kind of mature him into the role of an account executive, because that's what they're going for. And at the same time, your solution engineer, I mean, they even act as a therapist for me sometimes, because, when you can't get your head around the cases, they're the kind of neutral aspect looking from the outside for the customer. And on top of that, of course, when you are engaging with the C-suite of billion-dollar companies or companies with hundreds of millions of euros of revenue, you want to bring in senior management from your business too.
Yeah. And are they geographically there with you, or are they in?
Yes. So we have the president of Europe sitting here in Berlin with me also. But at the same time, if it's necessary, we can fly even more senior members from the headquarters in San Francisco. It depends on the case.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
And, what skills do you find most powerful in sales and your sale?
Yeah. So I think I was at tender age of 27 when 26 when I learned to listen. So I think that's one thing.
That was early compared to most people.
Well, I mean, it's a never-ending love story. Still trying to develop. But instead of thinking, what is it that I want to tell this person? What is it that they're trying to tell me that I can help them with? So that's definitely, and I can't stress it enough. I think every single guest says it on your podcast. You need to bring value. It needs to be value that you're bringing to the customer, because if it's nice to have, when push comes to shove, they're not going to make the investment. Yeah. And being in the role, what we do in the SaaS industry, at least at Freshworks, you build long-term relationships. So the time of a kind of cowboy salesman is over, because once you complete the sale with the seed and grow business model, that's when the fun stuff starts. You just need to make a good impression in the start and keep it going.
And you use the word value. What does that mean in your market?
So the value comes from what I believe is once you find out the why. So I think it was Chris Draper who was on your podcast, and he told these kind of 6 questions that he always asks. And I think he was spot on. So you're asking, why are we doing this? Do you need to do this? Because what is the impact if you don't do it? So if you're unable to find the value, if they don't do it, you're going to have a really hard time justifying them to actually push through the purchase. So what is the value? That can vary. Is it to make someone's life easier? Is it to generate more revenue? Is it to streamline matters? Of course, all of these things usually do tie up to costs, but I try and keep myself out of the ROI conversations for as long as possible, because that's when you have to bring out the Excel sheet and say like, okay, this is how I'm going to prove to you, because I was not able to prove it to you otherwise.
Yeah. But aren't most people bought into doing something, whether it be with you or someone else? They're going to buy something.
I don't know. I think procrastination and looking at, it's been Yeah, it's been 4.5 years that I've been now doing this and interacting with these businesses. And you meet customers who haven't done anything for 10 to 15 years.
Right.
And
What's
yeah,
another
then
year?
exactly. And then 2 years from now, you don't see those businesses anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, I mean, at the same time, yeah, go ahead.
And how do you prioritize your time, given that it sounds like you've got a lot of things that can close, but a lot of hyper competitive situations?
Yeah, so this is something actually, thanks to your podcast, I started to pay a lot of attention to is never have these no decision deals anymore. So there's a large total addressable market out there for me, and I think the thing is you need to choose the battles that you believe that you can win.
Yeah.
So once again, coming back, you could have an enormous amount of opportunities, and all of them are on hold, and you can come back to them. But at the end of the day, I was looking at some reports. I closed, far less than right now when you're choosing the right battles. And it's, some is with experience, some is intuition, and some is just by studying what is it that will lead to a positive decision.
And what goes through your head when you're making those judgment calls? Because that is critical, because you only have time. So yeah, prioritization.
That's true. I think the role of a manager is really important there. So I've been lucky enough to have managers who let me make my own decisions, whether I'm taking risks or not. But I still want to hear their opinion with the experience that they have. And then you kind of add the intuition to it. And then you have the target and compare it with your pipeline and make the decision from there. I mean, I'm not trying to make it look too romantic and nice. Of course, we have the target and the pipeline, so beggars can't be choosers. But with the experience I have, if you go running after every opportunity and look for the signals that you want to see, the outcome won't be too good.
Yeah, because I see a lot of reps thinking binary: either I work on it or I don't work on it. Yeah. And I think they're better off taking a prioritization and then work on top priority, then second priority, then third, and then it'll naturally allocate your time to what you're most likely going to win.
Yeah, and also regarding the priority, what's the priority for the customer? So I mean, you can have a large project that they're doing. Maybe they're doing a CRM revamp, but at the same time they want to improve their customer experience via omni-channel, and it becomes one big mess. So a lot of times you end up being an advisor, a consultant even for the customer. And of course, you as a sales rep, the natural thing was, okay, let's go for the huge deal right away. Let's close this off, and then we can, come back to thinking about it, how we're actually going to do it. Yeah. But I think what's really worked is kind of divide it, help the customer. It needs to, in a sense, come from them. Where's the priority for them? The understanding that I have right now is the customer experience is important, but you guys don't have data on your sales, so you have no idea about the lost revenue. So my recommendation is we start with the CRM, and half a year down the road, we can do a ramp rollout. Let's sign it off already on the contract, and then we can come down to that.
So you want to get a deal, take the deal off the table.
Go ahead.
I had a great manager who told me that. It's like, don't worry about the big deal, because if they buy one license of yours and they use it, they're not buying another product.
Exactly. And that's why the seed and grow business model is definitely a core thing for us. And you can see it now. I've been here now at this business for 6 months, and looking at the, how it's going, it's those existing happy customers who are really helping out with the continuing the development. Definitely.
Yeah. And any other milestones through your sales career that were epiphanies for you, like the listening?
Yeah, it is a bit of a weird story how I ended up here. So, I said when I was 18, I decided to go and study sales in university. The reason was I wasn't interested in anything. So I thought, at least in sales,
you get a job.
People always told me as a kid, you'll be selling cars. And I said, I don't know anything about cars. They said, it doesn't matter, you can talk. So I said, okay, maybe. But I went to study sales and just realized there that, I like the fact that you get to influence people. But by the time of 22, 23, I was, I wouldn't call it hippie phase, but I started up a smoothie bar with my friends. My hair was even longer than it was today. I was 100% vegan, and I was just making smoothies, making the world a better place. One smoothie at a time was our slogan.
Yeah.
So at that point, I really wouldn't have believed that 5, 6 years from there, I would be here. But I got a phone call from a friend who said that, they have a startup. They're working with a global customer base. They need someone speaking English. And that's how I kind of got pulled into it. So that was a interesting milestone in a sense, from a smoothie bartender to work in the SaaS industry without even knowing what CRM stood for when I joined.
That raises the question, what motivates you? Because a smoothie bartender, although I love smoothies.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess at that point, I wouldn't say that smoothies motivated me. At that point, I was motivated by a healthy lifestyle and trying to make the world a better place. Not saying that those things still don't motivate me, but it does get a bit tiring after pressing juice after juice and smoothie after smoothie, day after day. And having the opportunity of actually interacting with Fortune 500 businesses, which I was doing at Fingertip at the time, really was an exciting opportunity for me. And once you were somewhat successful and you see the happy customers and you're happy, you have a nice paycheck, but you're bringing value. I really like that feeling. And of course, you could continue doing that at Salesforce, where I did have a slow start, but I was lucky enough to have a sales director who was very patient with me. And yeah, within the second year, I had the most new logos for the Nordics at Salesforce. So that would be another milestone I'm proud about.
But how about like the classic things of either competitiveness or hate losing, love winning?
Yeah.
Do those things drive you, or?
Yeah, this is something I was thinking about. Usually when we listen or you think about salespeople, they hate losing and they want to be number one. I look at it more as a team sport. So, I mean, I really like it when the customer is happy, I'm happy, the team is happy, good things will follow. Yeah. But one thing I do hate is, and I don't like, is losing and not learning from that. So the times that I get really disappointed in myself is if I lose a case and I'm unable to tell why this happened. That's something really frustrating, and then really take it into yourself and think, what is it that I could have done better? And I think that's the reason that kind of maybe separates me, is really take that feedback in. I force my colleagues to give me negative feedback. They always tell me about what went well, which is really nice to hear, but it doesn't really add any value because I kind of know that. I've been doing that. What is it that I can do better? And they really struggle at telling it. It's not because I'm that good. They're not used to it. So I just tell them 1 or 2 things they could have done better.
And they're open.
All of a sudden they've got, 5 or 10 things that you could do better. But I think it's the continuous kind of need and willingness to develop. And the sky's the limit in the industry that we're doing.
Yeah, especially in sales where there's never a perfect performance.
Exactly.
Right. There's always things you can do better. And
and
what have some of those things been?
What I could have done better?
Yeah,
well, I mean, after one of your podcasts, I think 1.5 years ago, I pulled out a report from the CRM with every single deal that was put on hold. And I started looking for the reason, and I found a lot of common things that I really wasn't clear enough on identifying the need. So I was really pitching, like a lot of people do in their sales careers in the start, you're telling, what is it that I can do for your business? What is it that I can do for your business? Instead of what is it that your business really needs?
Yeah.
And there's no one common theme to it. You always need to identify that one personal thing for them, to connect with them. And that's how you create rapport. And, from rapport, you create a relationship, and from there you can have success.
And that's it, because, when you usually travel, that's how I got into it. It was like
Berlin. I always use the flights to listen to your podcast, which is the truth.
That's the second best use.
But what you just said is important. Usually make sure you have someone else in the meeting with you so you can spar afterwards. Yeah. Or then again, if you have that champion in the room, you can actually review the meeting with them afterwards also to get some feedback from there.
Yeah, that walk back to the reception. If you can just hold it.
Yeah, it could be that. Or if you're good enough friends, you can call them past 6 p.m., send them a text and say, have you taken your daughter to soccer practice? Would now be a good time to, share some thoughts for half an hour. That's one thing. Yeah.
Cool. Hey, it's been a great conversation. Where can people go to connect with you?
So you can find me on LinkedIn. Kenneth Westlake is my name. If you're interested in listening to some of my music, you can go to SoundCloud and check out Bad Caesar or Spotify.
Always great to hear how reps are handling those issues. I think the key is to be prepared for them. Anticipate what is going to go wrong, because usually the same things are going wrong in every deal, and we tend to forget about them because there's a large time gap in between hearing them. When you're doing telesales and you're selling the same thing, it's the same script, it's the same process, it's easy to remember them. But when you're doing larger, complex deals, all these deals are at different stages. Even though the same patterns repeat, your skills, your readiness doesn't, because you're playing, it's like playing 5 different baseball games all at the same time. You got to remember where you were, where you're going, what happened, what's the history, who's who, all of this stuff. It's really hard to keep in your head. This is some of the stuff that we focus on winning the complex sale. I break it down and help you understand where you are and where you need to go, instead of what most sales training is about, is just a skill and how to repair something. This is all about prevention. Sales is a prevention profession. Now, the other problem that I solve is, how do you get conversations and meetings? Oh, God, every time I go on to someone else's webinar and they talk about these gimmicks and these tricks and these techniques, and it's like, yes, video email is great, but is it the first one? Maybe. Do you have to do some gimmick? No. But how do you move from unaware to aware, aware to curious, curious to interest? And we've got to understand, cold outreach, we're hitting people who are unaware of who we even are. And the last thing anybody wants to hear is a pitch. How many of the robocalls do you pick up? How many of the spammy emails do you even read? Never mind consider and engage with somebody. Cold outreach is about warming people up to the problem that we solve and why they need to solve it. It's not about coming up with a better pitch. Yes, you need to know how to answer the question, what do you do? And that we work on that, but we have to get to that point. Getting to that point is the hard part, and you're not going to do it in a cold call. You're not going to do it in an email. And just ask yourself, how many meetings, conversations did you have with your cold outreach? Real interactive conversations where you could determine, do they have the problem you solve or not? How many? I hear a lot of reps, 1 or 2 a week, sometimes 1 or 2 a month. How about if you could 10x that in a systematic way? How to build up your whole calendar so it would be full of really interesting conversations. Now, these aren't demos or presentations. They're just conversations. But everything starts with a conversation. A conversation is an interaction about what the other person wants to talk about. And nobody teaches this. Nobody. That's why I did. And it's field proven and been developed over the last 7 years and honed. And unlike most courses, it's not just you on your own. Oh, I've got to watch all these videos. No. It's, watching the videos and doing it and getting feedback from both your peers and from me and being able to share what you do is really powerful. It's the way we learn. And why does it take? It doesn't take a year. It takes a lifetime. I've been doing this forever, longer than most of you have been alive. But I still have to practice. I still have to analyze. I still have to prepare. I still have to get feedback after I mess up. I try and learn from my mistakes, but hey, I'm in sales. These are life skills. It's like being a spouse or being a parent. This is a performance. It's not just knowing. We all know what we should do. We all know that we should do it, but are we getting ourselves to do it? Are we taking feedback? How well are we doing it? It's a performance. And if you sit back in the B-player trap of, oh, I know, or the platitudipus, oh, it's all about hard work, it's all about relationships. Yeah, those are ingredients. But there's not just sugar in the muffin. You got to have flour. You got to have some blueberries. You need some sugar, but not too much. And that's what the course is about, is how do you build up your recipe for success, selling what you sell, not what I sell, into the market that you sell into, and how to become better and better at it. Learn more about it at b2brevenue.com. Check out the show notes. Just swipe up on your podcast player. There's plenty of information in there. I put the frequently asked questions in there. If you want to talk with me about it, there's a calendar link on my website. Please follow that process instead of sending me an email. It's just getting into my funnel is super easy, but there's one entry point, and that's through the website and scheduling a call if you want to talk about the course. Also, check out my other 2 podcasts, Sales Questions, Brutally Honest Answers, as well as the B2B Revenue Leadership Show. If you see my content fly by on LinkedIn, please give it a little thumbs up, a little howdy doody, a little share. I'd appreciate that. We'll see you next time. Always looking for great guests to be on the show. If you have somebody in mind, even yourself, let me know. Love to have you on the show, much like today's. We'll see you next time.